everybody. I'm Angie Vishyanan. I'm the founder of Leg Up Legal, and we provide a mentoring program to connect pre-law students to lawyers for mentoring. We started this series, mostly just to help people cope with some of the craziness that's going on during COVID-19. And I've been inviting some guest speakers on every week to share with you guys some tips and tricks about lots of different topics. And today I am joined by two very special people, Olga Peskova and Amanda Johnson of the Warriors of Wellness Project, WOW, and they will be sharing some of their tips on how to manage anxiety and stress, and they'll be doing a great breathing exercise for us, and then they'll be around to answer a few questions that you guys might have about, how can you process some of the things that are going on in your life right now. So I just wanted to take a minute to remind everybody that we'll be recording this session for people who couldn't make it and registered. So if you don't want to be on video, just shut off your video and participate in the breathing exercise just through your audio, and that's totally fine. And if you have any questions, please try to save them for the end, because we want to just talk a little bit about kind of well-being in the legal profession to start off with, and then we'll shift on into the discussion on mindfulness and breathing, and then the Q&A. So first of all, I think lawyers in general have started recognizing that there's a lot of issues about lawyer well-being in our profession. In 2017, the American Bar Association commissioned this study on lawyer well-being, and they put together this task force to really study what was going on in our profession. Are people okay, or are they struggling? Because I think most people, when they think about lawyers, they think of all the lawyer stereotypes, right? Like, people are stressed out, they're, they drink, they're all alcoholics, like all sorts of bad vices, right? So I think, the ABA just really wanted to get a sense of what's going on in our profession. And the findings of this report I'll send out in a PDF to everybody in the chat box. But basically, the report was 72 pages, and the summary was, yeah, we are not okay as a profession. Like, there's a lot of things that are going on that cause lawyers to have a higher level of stress, anxiety, depression, substance abuse, all of those things. And there's, things about law school and practicing as a lawyer that really amp up the stressors that are going on in your life. And all of that combined with what is currently going on out there with COVID-19. So I'm sure a lot of you may be feeling more stress and anxiety than normal. And we wanted to give you kind of a space to acknowledge that and, process that. And so some of the things that you can do are look at some of the materials that the Wellbeing Task Force from the ABA has presented. They have so many great resources. There's a law student well-being podcast that you can listen to that is fantastic. There's tons of different great resources on mindfulness, meditation, and also they have toolkits for things that you can do to talk to your employers about what the work environment is like, and whether or not it's conducive to lawyer well-being. And, for all of you that are even interning for your lawyers, you may at some point want to ask them, hey, have you guys done seminars or training about these things? And if not, would you want me to help put together some of these things? It might give you a really good way to interact with your employers about lawyer well-being and be proactive about it, instead of just sort of taking for granted that, oh, I'm a lawyer, I should be stressed out. That's not okay. I think that, it's important that law students recognize that they're about to enter this phase in their life where there's going to be a high amount of stress that they need to be able to process these feelings that they're feeling, and channel that in a healthy way. Stress is not a bad thing. Stress can be a very good thing. Stress is your emotional response to things that are going on in your life. And sometimes stress can drive you to be very productive. It can. But if you let it get out of control, the way that you're responding emotionally to that stress, that can be debilitating. It can just, prevent you from moving forward. And so we wanted to share with you some tips on how to kind of break out of that cycle and process some of that stress. So I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to Olga and Amanda, but first I would like them to introduce themselves and tell us about the Warriors of Wellness Project and what you're doing. Let me go ahead and pin you guys here. All right, Amanda, you're up.
Hi, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today. So Warriors of Wellness is actually Olga's brainchild, and she invited me in. It's been over a year at this point that we've been working on this. So our ultimate goal is that we're developing an app for mindfulness and wellness that's going to be goes beyond what calm.com or Headspace or Insight Time or some of these other apps that have meditation and mindfulness as their component. We wanted to look at being able to really kind of track your progress and create a customizable approach for each person instead of just providing an online or an app-based library for meditations. So it's just kind of taking it that next step further, just to make it unique to you and to address the needs that are actually affecting you in your life. So, but with that being said, we've actually kind of branched out over the last couple weeks and have posted a 7-day guide to wellness on Instagram that we'd love to invite everybody to join. We're going to be redoing it on May the 1st. That we have some yoga, we have meditation, we have a lot of breathing exercises, a lot of other wellness tips throughout the entire week that we provide every single day. Olga, please feel free to jump in whenever you want.
I'll shift and pin the video. Can you tell us?
Okay.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of these initiatives that you have coming out and some of the resources that you're going to be providing?
Yeah. Thank you so much. So we are Warriors of Wellness. This project actually started from me being PhD student. So kind of, I understand how stressed you are. So I've been under a lot of stress, and I've been trying to find some good tips, some good and most importantly, short tips, because we have a lot of different videos, a lot of sessions, you can see psychologists, you can go to gym, but sometimes we just don't have time for all of that. So I wanted to get some kind of pocket guide for us. So basically, within 15 minutes a day, that you will be having some customizable approach. For example, if you feel anxious, you can put your symptoms and you're going to be redirected to exactly the exercise that will help you to be more relaxed. If you, for example, cannot wake up in the morning and feel really depressed and really overwhelmed with what you're having, you can also put it in the app, and app will give you some exercises so you can actually gain some energy and be more energized and carry on throughout your day. So this was our final goal behind this project. Actually, yesterday was exciting day for us because we won in pitch competition. We actually
Congratulations!
We did.
Yeah, it was super excited. So now we have a little bit more funding to move faster, but while we're waiting for the actual app, so we actually providing for you this amazing way to help yourself wherever you feel stressed, wherever you feel a little bit depressed, wherever you feel you actually need to boost your immune system, especially it's relevant in nowadays. So we are providing you this week-long also very short exercises a day. Every day you will receive some little things that you can do. And
Great.
Yeah.
Is that on, and you said that's going to be on Instagram?
Yes, it's going to be on Instagram. So you can join our page, Breathe, Move, Meditate, and we will provide some updates and link to log in closer to the date. So.
Okay, well, can you drop your Instagram handle in the chat box so that people can follow you guys?
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Yeah. So. And then the 7-day guide we actually have a closed page for that. So it's just everybody who's involved in that program is on that page, and that's it. So that way we can keep it to where we get lots of feedback, and we're there one-on-one with you guys throughout the entire week to answer questions or just be available for anything that you guys need.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So after subscribing to this 1 week program, you will receive a link for this direct closed page, and all the activity is going to be there. So, and it's
Very
going to
cool.
be closed, really nice group. So you can help and support each other as well if you want to.
Great. Well, thank you so much. So if you want, we can now shift into the breathing exercise that you guys have. So we just wanted to share with you guys a breathing exercise today that will kind of help calm some of your anxieties. So take us through it.
Okay, so just kind of a little overview, why breathing is so important. So first of all, we need oxygen. We need oxygen in diffusing through every part of our systems, every part of our body. The more oxygen we're able to get to our systems, get to our tissues, get to our brain space, the more effectively we work, the more able we are to adapt to stress and to be able to kind of work through the things that we need to work through. A lot of times when we start to get stressed, we start to retain our breath. And when that happens, we have a buildup of carbon dioxide in our system, which actually kind of creates a self-defeating cycle. So more carbon dioxide in the system leads to higher anxiety levels, higher stress levels. And so the best thing to do sometimes is just to take a moment and just to breathe. And the most important thing through any breathing exercise is whether it feels complex or simple to you, just keep breathing. Allow oxygen to come in through the nose and exhale out of the mouth. So the breathing exercise that we're going to work on today is called alternate nostril breathing. So if anybody has taken a yoga class or has a yoga practice, you've probably done this before. But what the whole concept of it is that we are balancing the energies between our right and our left side of our body. So our left side is our calming, our soothing side. It's correspondent with our parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest nervous system, which is what we want to turn on when we're working into relaxation. And then our right side is our sympathetic nervous system side. So our warming side, our active side, that is where, stress and our survival side comes in, where, like you said, stress is sometimes a good thing because it helps us to survive. It helps us to get through things that we need to get through. But it's about finding that balance between the two systems to really create that relaxation response. So by doing alternate nostril breathing, we're breathing in through each nostril alternately and helping to balance that energy between both sides of the body. All right, so what everybody needs to do just to start is find a comfortable place to sit. And preferably, if you can cross your legs, great. If you can't, that's okay. If you're sitting in a chair, just let your feet touch the ground. Okay, and then go ahead and bring your left hand just to rest on either the top of your thigh or the inside of your knee. We'll take our right hand, palm facing out, bring your index and your middle finger deeply into your palm. Perfect. This is creating a little mudra, or what we call in yoga a hand position or seal. This just creates a little more active energy within the system. We're going to take our ring finger, we'll close off our left nostril with the ring finger, and then just take a deep breath in through your right nostril only. Close off your right nostril with your thumb, open up that left nostril and exhale. Inhale through the left nostril. Close it off, open up the right and exhale. That's one full cycle. So we'll inhale through the right nostril again. Close it off, exhale left. Beautiful. Inhale left. Close off, exhale right. So go ahead and close your eyes. We're going to do about 5 more rounds together here. Just take your time. Don't worry about counting. And just let the breath move through the body. Feeling it clear the space. And just finishing your final round here. And as you do, go ahead and relax your right hand onto your open thigh or on the knee. And keeping our eyes at that soft close, let's take another deep breath in through the nose. And a soft sigh of exhalation out of the mouth. 2 more just like that. Deep breath in. And exhale. Just taking a moment to pause. Allow the breath to return to its natural rhythm. So hopefully we're able to breathe a little more evenly through both nostrils. We feel a little clearer. It does have the tendency to clear the sinuses as well. And just opening our eyes whenever we're ready. All right, how's everyone feeling? Good. See a thumbs up. Yay. Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much. That was fantastic. Does everybody feel just a little more calm?
That's great.
Now we wanted to give you guys some time to just ask any questions that you might have about some of the things that you're going through right now, and share some tips of what you're doing to sort of maintain your daily calm, or resources that you might be using if you're using a podcast, or if you're using or if you're checking in on certain websites or anything like that. So feel free to unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and just say, who you are, and share your tips or ask any questions that you might have. And I'll unpin the videos so that it can shift to whoever is talking.
Hi, I'm Lisa Goldcool, and I'm an attorney in Sacramento, California.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
Yeah, no, that was a fantastic breathing exercise. I've never done the one where you kind of clear your sinuses out, but really excellent. And I think for me, I use a lot of Audible books. Like I use Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now.
Yeah.
Awesome book. Awesome book. One of my favorites.
Very cool. Thank you so much for joining us, Lisa. I met Lisa actually on some other webinars that we've been doing for lawyers. So if you guys haven't joined one of Alex Sue's webinars, he's also offering free meetups for lawyers and law students. And it's just been great to just bond with people on those calls. He's been doing it for about 3 weeks now, and we're starting to see a lot of regulars on there. So it's really great, positive energy, great way to network. And they offer some really great tips too about what, lawyers and law students should be doing at this time. So, yeah, we had a question. Any other book recommendations? Amanda, Olga, what are you guys reading right now?
Oh, they're reading so much. It's just hard to think. I actually right now here on my table, I'm reading the book that's called The Body, which is very interesting, and it's telling about what kind of our different body things we have. So this one that I'm reading, but for mind and meditation, probably Amanda could recommend us something. I'm sorry to put you in the spot.
No, not at all. No, I have tons of Eckhart Tolle. Anything by Eckhart Tolle is perfect. Yeah. So Lisa, I'm right there with you. I love The Power of Now. In fact, when I did my yoga training, that was a required book for us to read because he had just released it. He also has one that's called A New Earth, which is a really good one as well. My personal favorite is Pathways to Joy. It is a collection of essays from Swami Vivekananda when he came in 1898 for the Conference of World Religions in Chicago. And so David DeLuca took those essays and he put them in one book. So they're translated. There's some commentary with it as well, but it's pretty much his essays in their pure sense, and it is beautiful. It really, truly brings joy to your life. It's amazing. And then Osho meditations. So In terms of meditation, if you're getting into it, which definitely recommend, even if you just start with 1 minute a day and you just focus on breathing and then just move on from there. But Osho is the master of meditation. And so anything by him, he has books that have there's one that's actually a 365-day guide. So there's a short meditation for every single day of the year. And it's a great place to get started. And you can just kind of work through it. And so yeah, there you go.
Awesome. Amanda, how do you spell that again? Osho.
Osho, it's O-S-H-O.
Mm-hmm. And what are the books that you recommended from him?
That you could do everyday meditation, and that's the 365 guide. And then there's also just meditations, that's the title of it. And that's his basic guide to get started into meditating,
Awesome.
Just to kind of begin what is helpful, how to give yourself that space and that forgiveness that it doesn't come easily to all of us. And there's some of us who've been doing it for years that still struggle with it from time to time, because quieting the fluctuations of the mind it definitely takes some effort to do, but eventually becomes effortless in just that beautiful paradox that it is. So.
Yeah, and I wanted to say about Osho, it's kind of like their own line of philosophy. So basically, it's like different movement, and we tend to think about meditation just with calmness meditation, that just sitting in our posture and just sitting in quiet. But he also introduced a lot of dynamic meditations.
Yes.
So when people are doing together, so like we are not doing it in our 7-day guide, but it's also very interesting practice, and it's basically give you a broader perspective of what's the meditation is, and kind of he have really good book on love. I forgot the exact name, but it's actually it's really important to love ourselves, to kind of give ourselves this time, give ourselves this moment, because I know you guys probably all extremely busy, probably running all day with a lot of things going on. And I think it's just important to stop sometime and give yourself this 10 to 15 minutes and just breathe, or just kind of do wherever you like. Maybe go for some little walk, which right now is challenging, but if you can, it's also super helpful. Or just do what you love. And it's kind of about this self-care. I think we really need to take into our daily routine.
Yeah, absolutely. Part of the lawyer well-being guide that is produced by the ABA talks about, different things that you should be doing. And it says exactly do that. Do exercise, do yoga, go outdoors, do things that promote a healthy body, because if our bodies aren't healthy, our minds tend to not be healthy. So it's important just to take care of yourself, during this time, and make sure you're eating well and getting some exercise, and it'll really change your perspective. Get enough sleep. Don't stay up all night watching Netflix. Get some sleep. One of the other things that I've been doing is listening to the Happiness Lab podcast. It's a podcast started by a Yale professor on happiness and what the science of happiness, what drives happiness. And it's not all just, it's not meant to be, oh, you're just supposed to be happy all the time. No, she really digs into the science of happiness and how do we feel, how do we process, things that are going on in our life, like COVID-19. And so she started this class at Yale on the science of happiness, and it unexpectedly became the most enrolled class at Yale. And so she realized people were really interested in this because, there were a lot of people at Yale that were stressed out, and they were, feeling a lot of anxieties. They weren't understanding how they were processing the information that was going on in their lives and their emotions. And so she started a podcast about it, and it's really great. They've put together all these short 10-minute snippets for COVID-19 and things that you can do to help process what's going on, and it's been really fantastic. I love her episodes, and some of them are longer episodes where she does a full interview for 40 minutes, and then some of them are these short bite-sized clips that you can just get in a short study break. So I highly recommend the Happiness Lab. And I'll drop that in the chat as well. And I'll produce the chat transcript after this. So if anybody else wants to just drop in books or whatever you want in the chat, I'll send that out to everybody afterwards.
Thank you, Angie. It's awesome. But I think it's very important what you said about like creating this healthy habit and healthy mind, healthy body. And one of our goals was to create this program that actually connects mind and body, because sometimes people tend to think about them separately. And even sometimes we go to the yoga classes and it's mostly about the body. Like it looks like the exercise routine, but we actually follow a different psychology, because our yoga called like psychotherapeutic yoga. So it's called like yoga for your brain. It's basically like,
That's cool.
So we actually connecting the mind and body. Every mental exercises that you're doing, they actually also produce some hormones that actually affecting your body, and vice versa. So we can go both ways. And throughout this 1 week training, what we are doing, it's actually every day you will receive some movement exercises or breathing exercises or meditation exercises. You will receive some food recommendations. So you, in the beginning of the week, we're providing you a list of foods that actually helps you to balance your system. And you can also ask us, like in a live chat, if you don't have something, how you can substitute it. So, and throughout the week, our goal is to actually create this healthy habits. So, and our first round was very successful, and we will start the new one on May. So like if you guys have questions about it, if you want to join us, we would be happy to have you.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think, forming these new habits also just helps you break out of like whatever cycle that you're in. I think after things started going crazy with COVID-19 and they announced all the social distancing rules here in Dallas, I gave myself about a week to just like wallow in my own misery and be like, what in the world is happening? Because I was just freaked out. I was like, what's going to go on with our business? What's happening with law schools? Like, what's going on? And, and it was really scary at first, but then after giving myself time to process, it was like, okay, I can't just be frozen in fear. I can't just, stop this from letting me move forward, right? So you have to find some ways to like break out of that. I know it's easy to get, it's strange because you can feel like bored and completely overwhelmed in like the same day.
Same time. Yeah.
So like, and I've been going through that a little bit. You wake up in the morning and you're like, okay, well, here we are again. I'm just going to be staying in my house, But then you're like, oh my gosh, I have a million things to do. But then by the end of the day, you're like, I feel isolated, withdrawn. I'm not getting all the, people interaction that I normally get. And so I think right now people might be going through this like roller coaster of emotions, and they're also just some of you might just be like frozen like I was, like I don't even know where to begin, so I'm just not going to begin. And I really had to break out of that. But first I had to acknowledge that was going on. First I had to realize like, yes, okay, I'm feeling these feelings. There's a lot going on that's not normally happening to me. And, I've been at places before where I was, overly stressed. Like there were definitely times when I was practicing as an attorney where I was working, 80-hour weeks, 3 weeks in a row, and like handling all these things. And so like, why is it all of a sudden now that I feel frozen? And then, you check in with yourself, acknowledge these feelings, find some ways to process those feelings and move forward and think, okay, I'm not going to try to tackle everything at once. I'm just going to try to tackle one thing, just write all of it down. Make a list of, all the things that you want to do, and then tackle that one thing, and then try to write down one new thing that you're going to do today that breaks you out of that cycle. So if today you want to listen to one podcast on happiness or wellness or meditation, write that down and, celebrate yourself for doing these things, because it is, helping you create that space that you need, create that motivation that you need to move forward. Because I think, it's very easy for us to get caught up in all of this stuff and not process it. And your body, like human beings, our natural response to stress is, to kind of over respond. And so you need to like check in with that and stop that, hedge that off, and make sure that you can use those stresses to channel good energy and be productive moving forward, instead of allowing it to just sort of stop you in place. Because I think a lot of us, when this first all started, we were like, okay, we just want to be able to help. We heard a lot of people that are struggling, and we're just trying to find ways that we can help. And sometimes doing that, practicing, kindness, practicing gratitude, doing all those things also allows us to, be kind to ourselves and change our mindset and, process these things in a positive way. So, think about some of the things that you can do to generate that sort of that kindness, that gratitude in your life. That'll help you kind of handle some of this anxiety that you're feeling right now. And absolutely participate in Amanda and Olga's 7-day challenge, and also in the new programs that they have coming up. I think that it'll be very, very helpful for people. So yeah, I mean, does anybody else have any tips that they've got? What are you guys doing?
Maybe like I have a little suggestion. Maybe like if somebody has some issues that they want to kind of share with us and they want some feedback on, like we also here to help you. Maybe like if you don't feel comfortable right now, you can always write us, but like we just want to allow like a couple minutes, if it's okay with you, to ask people questions. And maybe like something that come up after this breathing exercise, or whatever issues you're struggling, maybe like whatever you want to share, we would be happy to hear now or later.
Anybody?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Ashley.
Hi, Ashley.
I am Ashley. I'm from New York. I'm currently a college student, finishing my undergrad education, and I just wanted to say thank you. I never really focused on breathing exercises or meditation, but I feel like clear after that. I don't have any challenges that I'm having right now, but it was an adjustment period for me. Like Angie was saying, transferring and adjusting to this new normal. And I realized that actually focusing on my body has helped me a lot maintain sanity throughout all of it. I've been trying to exercise every day for at least 30 minutes to an hour. Different YouTube videos help a lot with that, right in my room. Making sure I'm eating okay, and now I have more time to cook healthy meals. So I think, like Olga was saying, just that focus on mind and body has really been helpful for me throughout all of this. And conversations like this help a lot as well. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing. It's amazing. And I think it's important to find this point of balance and point of kind of that you can rely on. And for you, it was your body, that you can feel it, that you have control over it. You have control over your eating. You have control over your body of exercising. So I think it's super important and super healthy strategy. So wherever you guys find for yourself would really work. And we highly suggest you to go out of unhealthy habits to like alcohol or something that Angie was saying. But this habits is actually like really great, and maybe finding something that we didn't have a time before to do, like you said, like maybe cooking, or maybe like sleeping a little longer, or maybe like, I don't know, communicating with your family, but we always been running and never had the time. So just kind of trying to find some positives in all this craziness right now.
Yeah, I mean, because when Angie was talking about just being still for a week, I think that's kind of the silver lining and the blessing that we're getting from this whole situation, is it's forcing us into stillness, which is really uncomfortable for most of us. And that's where there's so much to be learned in that stillness and in that space, and just being okay with it. So we're, like I said, we're kind of being forced into that, stage right now, but it's a beautiful place to be. And at the same time, there's so much we can learn about our bodies, about just how we process information, just kind of allowing it to sit with us and just kind of meld, and moving forward from there. So don't be afraid of the stillness as well. Let it in.
That's
Enjoy it.
awesome.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because when I first discovered mindfulness and meditation, I think it actually was when I was in law school, and I was just really stressed out and trying to figure out what in the world was going on with me, because I never felt that kind of stress in undergrad. I didn't, but all of a sudden I was freaking out about things that I had never freaked out about before. And so I started looking into some of these resources, and I realized, like, I had never stopped to think about what that stillness and clarity can do for you. And it was just, it was all about just go, 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 go all the time.
Yes.
How do I get to that next thing? How do I achieve that next goal? How do I, get that next good grade? And it was just like a constant drive. And I wasn't taking the time to just give myself that space and stillness. And it's a good thing to provide that stillness for yourself in your life. Everybody needs it, even if you don't realize it. So, you have to find ways, especially as you get older and you get more responsibilities in your life, they're just going to keep piling on. You're going to have work, and then all of a sudden you're going to, maybe have kids and a family and a spouse and all these things. And it's just going to keep adding up. And you're going to get to this point where you realize, like, oh my gosh, when was the last time that I gave myself some peace and stillness? When was the last time that I literally, put myself in a room, gave myself some silence, and let me just be alone with my own thoughts? I think that if you ask anyone who is a practicing lawyer who has all those things going on in their life, they'd probably tell you those moments are rare. So take the time now, right?
And I think, Angie, I would say also, you make a really good point. The study of law school, and the practice of law really don't value self-care. In fact, they almost denigrate it and kind of stigmatize you if you do it.
Yeah.
So you have to really buck the trend and kind of be a strong person to say, these are my boundaries, this is what I need. And it will make you a far better practitioner and student, but you're going against kind of what the trend is and the peer pressure. So you just have to
Yeah, one of the staggering things that I read in the ABA report was that it said 43% of all law students identified some sort of problem that you should seek help for. So they reported in all of their responses, either high levels of depression or anxiety to the point that you should have sought help. And then 70% of those people said that they would have sought help, but only 10% actually did. And a big part of it was then when they asked them, okay, so why might not have you sought help? Some of them answered, well, because I thought it was going to impact my, capability to practice, my fitness. I thought it was going to, if the word got out that I was going to talk to a counselor or something, that my classmates would look at me differently. And I think that just gets worse as you get into practice. You think like, okay, maybe if I go and seek help, then, my clients would think about me differently or whatever. But a lot of those fears are, things that you just kind of internalize, and we very, very much need to be aware of those things. Those beliefs can stop us from seeking help that we need. And you might be a perfectly happy, healthy person, but then when faced with certain stressors, you may need that extra help at some point, and that's totally okay. You can totally go to, often now law schools will have, school counselors that you can talk to, or people who can provide you resources about this stuff. But I think, probably 10, 15 years ago, I think most people just sort of swept mental health under the rug during law school. They were just like, I'm just going to take these 3 years of my life to totally abuse my brain and my body, and I hope that this goes okay. And And I think that it's a great thing that our profession is starting to recognize that, your capability to practice as a lawyer is highly intertwined with how healthy you are mentally and physically. And you cannot just put your career in a box that is separate from the rest of your life. It just won't work. All those things are intertwined. And well-being has so many different elements, physical well-being, emotional well-being. It's not just, I can just focus on my career and ignore everything else. Like, you have to think about the other ways that you're taking care of yourself to make sure that you can still go do your job, to make sure that you can still get up in the morning and function as a human being. So I think that, this idea for the longest time, I think in law school, they just bred all this competition. It was just like, who could be the best, the smartest, who could get the best grades, who could just knock it out of the ballpark when they got called on, you start to think about all these things, and you're not worried about your own personal well-being or how this is impacting you psychologically. And you do need to take a moment and think about that. And I'm going to drop in all those resources that I was talking about now. But I know we do have some lawyers on the call, Lisa and Alex. So if you could talk a little bit about, kind of what your life was like in law school and how did you manage that stress, that would be fantastic.
I went to law school pretty young, so I think I didn't take it as seriously as I should have, because I just didn't want a job really, and so law school seemed like a good way to do that.
Put that off.
I occasionally did cut class and go to the mall without recognizing that, I'm ripping myself off because I paid for these classes. But I do think the important thing is to find like-minded, supportive people, so not competitive people. So the best thing I did in law school was to have friends who, they may not have been necessarily the top of the class, but a lot of times studying with people who aren't the top of the class is actually a lot better because you're going through the information in a better way. So when you're kind of teaching it to each other or teaching it to somebody who doesn't understand it as well, that's actually very helpful to you to learn the material better. So I would actually say, I don't necessarily think studying with the smartest people is best. I think it's good to study with people who have a great attitude, are supportive, and are committed to school as well. But I did a lot of exercise. I was in martial arts outside there, so I was doing that quite a bit of time. Keep your life as well-rounded as possible, because I will say this, and I got pretty good grades, but once you're out of law school and have your first job, I don't really think grades or where you went to school matters at all. It's really at that point becomes very experiential is the name of the game.
Yeah, your clients never wonder what was your class rank in law school. They never ask you that. And people, it's strange because when you're in law school, you're in this weird bubble where you're caring about things that nobody else in the world cares about. And so I think it's really easy to get caught up in all of that. And then when you remove yourself from that, a couple years later, you're like, oh my gosh, what in the world was going on with me? But then when you become a lawyer, there's all sorts of different stressors that move into your life as well. So I think it is very important to continue kind of acknowledging okay, there may be some new things entering my life right now, and how am I going to process those things? How am I going to develop healthy habits for processing those things? Definitely.
Oh, I did.
Oh.
I went to private school. It was fairly expensive.
Lisa, I think you were cutting out a little bit. Did you?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just going to say about anxiety about paying for law school. That's a big one, especially when I first came out. Now it's years later, and I'm on the 30-year whatever. But what we did in the beginning was we actually signed up for community college classes to defer the loans without accruing interest, because if you're signed up for classes, you can. So we took a bunch of community college classes at times when our salary wasn't as high, to just do that. So that was one method we used to kind of alleviate not having to pay. And again, not having to pay, but also not putting it off where interest is building up.
Yeah. Well, and people don't realize how many scholarships you can get while in law school and how much money you can make during law school. Like, people just think, okay, I'm just going to take whatever financial aid package they gave me when I got in and just go with that for the rest of the time. But I know a law student. I met her just a month ago, I think, on LinkedIn, that said that she racked up over $70,000 in scholarships while she was in law school. She was just applying to all these like scholarships everywhere. And some of the scholarships were not even for particularly law school. They were like graduate schools or even, education in certain areas or whatever it was. But she literally just went out there and scoured the internet for all these different, resources on scholarships and just kept applying like that was her full-time job, and she was able to really lower a lot of her law school debt from that. And I think you can totally do that. And of course, if you land one of these jobs during the summer that pay really, really well, you can offset some of your loans that way. Just don't go and like blow all that money. Like, all the people that I know who went to work for Big Law during the summers, they started making these, I kid you not, like $4,500 a week. And they were like just blowing it all on alcohol or going out or whatever. And it's like, okay, that's a ton of money. Like, what in the world are you doing spending it all on this? It's crazy. But you just, once you get into law school, you need to like be mindful of how much money that's costing you. You have to pay those loans back eventually. If you went straight out of undergrad too, it's really easy to kind of ignore that ballooning figure of loans, because a lot of people who haven't gotten out in the workforce and seen what a real paycheck actually looks like don't realize how small that paycheck is at the end of the day and how not far it goes. So I think a lot of people, it's easy for them to just see that figure and they're like, oh, what's another $100,000 on top of the 200,000 I'm already in? And you're like, no. Those are real figures. You have to eventually pay that back. So make sure, if one of the things that you're stressed out about right now is making money or having enough money to go to law school or paying off those loans from undergrad, try to look for financial resources now that can help you offset some of that burden. Because when you get into law school, you are going to be really busy. So if that's just hanging in the back of your mind, that's just going to be an extra stressor that you could have gotten rid of sooner. So try to address a lot of those things before you get into law school. For the people who are on this that are applying right now, a lot of people think law school is a good way to put off certain things, certain obligations in their life or whatever. But those things will just keep on following you around. So just make sure while you're in law school that you're in the right place mentally and financially to thrive, because since it is such a competitive atmosphere, all the things that are going on in your life that are stressing you can get to you even more acutely during law school. So if if your family members aren't supportive, or if you have a lot of stressors that are kind of from outside factors, that can just amp up in law school. So just, be aware of that. I think right now there's so much going on with COVID-19. There's so much uncertainty. People don't know if they're going to start classes in the fall. They don't know if they're going to do them all online. That I've honestly been suggesting to a lot of students, if you can wait, think about whether you should wait to go to law school, whether you want to defer a year. Law school is not going anywhere. It'll be there. If you absolutely need to start now because of financial reasons or because of, some other pressing reason, then fine. But if you don't need to start right now, and if you could, wait until some of this subsides, until there's more certainty on whether or not, they're going to be able to have classes live and you'll be able to get back into the swing of things, then maybe defer your admission for a year. Because a huge part of law school is bonding with your classmates live. A huge part of that experience is really going through it with 100 or 200 or 500 other people who are now in the same Shark Tank with you together. And, for better or for worse, you actually do build a lot of strong bonds out of that. I built stronger bonds in law school than I built in my undergrad, bonds that I still keep with me today. And, I think it's a lot harder to do that online. It's a lot harder to do that through Zoom. The times that you're building that camaraderie, it's like after you all go through this horrible final exam and you decide to go get a beer after. It's not during like Zoom study sessions. Like that's not when you're building these relationships. So like, think about that a little bit. Are you really getting your money's worth from law school if you're going through an experience online? I mean, I feel like not really. I know a lot of law school admissions people would hate me for that, but like, I mean, to be honest, like, I feel like, first of all, the American Bar Association has never, ever approved a completely 100% online program. They've never accredited a completely 100% online law program. And there's good reasons behind that, because it's really hard to give a quality legal education online. And, second, like even the hybrid programs that they have approved, there's like 4 of them. And the hybrid programs still require you to go to campus at least, 4 or 5 times a semester, because they want you to get that interaction, that networking, that ability to bond with faculty, the ability to bond with each other. And that's a very important part of law school. So if you aren't going to be getting that, ask yourself, like, why am I paying the same amount in tuition? Why am I still paying, $30,000 a year for, tuition if I'm not getting all of that? So, think about whether you really need to go right now. I totally don't, pretend to understand everything that's going on in y'all's lives. I've heard some people who talk to me and they're like, Angie, I've got like such a crazy home life right now. I just cannot stand it a minute longer. I'm going to law school, hell and high water. I'm like, okay, like do what you gotta do. But then, and then other people are like, yeah, I think all of this is just law school is crazy enough without compounding all the problems of COVID-19 on top of it. I'm going to hold off. So, do the decision that's right for you. And, if you want some help, talking through those decisions or just getting some perspectives from different lawyers, reach out to lawyers. Please reach out to lawyers before you go to law school and just ask them, hey, can I get a few minutes of your time to chat? And, connecting with people is also a really good way to help make it through this. Do not isolate yourself and shut yourself off from the world. So does that mean I could take welding classes from Catherine? I don't know what. Sure. I mean, yes, you could take. Oh, you mean in response to the community college stuff that Lisa was posting? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. At the time when we did it, which again was 23 years ago, so it was decades ago, but there was no requirement for any subject or anything. It was literally like you have to do it, be at least a half-time student, which I think whatever it was for us 2 classes. So I think we took maybe statistics and women's studies or something. But yeah, you could, like I said, it was in community college, it was crazy inexpensive at that time. So it was just a good way, as I said, if you don't have a job and you're concerned about those payments coming due or the interest starting, that could be what at least worked 20 years ago.
Huh, okay. Yeah, I mean, well, that was definitely not something that I did when I came out, and that would have been a smart way to go. So,
yeah. But now I would do art or photography or creative writing because, do something you're interested in. Why not?
Yeah. So, all right. Well, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much, Amanda and Olga. And, absolutely, if you want to send out any information, via email to everybody afterwards, we can, I can give you guys the information to do so. And yeah, it was great having all of you. I hope you have a happy, safe, and healthy rest of your week. And we will see you back again next week for our meetups, and we'll talk to you soon.